What's up, you guys, and welcome to a brand new episode, the first episode of 2023 of the Ask Alec Show. And I could not do this first episode of the year without my co-host, Mr. Jeremy from the Pop Culture Nihilist.
What's up, man?
Hey, man, and Ian Elliott Carter, Mr.
Get
Married
my name right,
Man.
bitch. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
From Ian Elliott Carter's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing within the new year?
I'm doing all right. I've been listening to Jeremy's music, jamming out. I make love to it now. It's really good. Other than that, man, I've been trying new things this year, man. It's one of those years like I've just stopped talking about it. I'm doing it. So I've been doing a lot of things. Not been doing a lot of YouTube, but I'm gonna slowly get to it. I've been working on my comic, been exercising. And I'm just trying to try new things, you know. Life's short.
Yeah, I feel that. What about you, Jeremy? How's everything going?
Man, I'm doing excellent. Like I'm doing extremely good. I've been coming out of my shell. I'm like hard boiled. I don't know. I've been good, man. I've been good. I've actually been watching some of Ian's cooking videos. Two notes. First of all, man, that food looks delicious. Second of all, that plate, the pan, little less so, dude. Get a new pan.
Hey, man. Alex don't know about black culture. We don't get new pans. We keep the seasoning on that.
We use
All
the
right,
same pan, and we'll put aluminum foil on it, and we'll put everything else on it, but we'll never get rid of that pan.
All right. I love it.
Yo, so towards the end of last year, we kind of started doing some things called like off the top. And before we get into our questions, well, actually, if you want your question on this show, it's very simple. Send me an email at theaskalexshow@gmail.com. That's theaskalexshow@gmail.com. If you send your topic or question to my email, more than likely, it will definitely be answered on this show. If you can't watch this show on YouTube, it will definitely be on Spotify the same day I put out the video. So you can definitely listen to it in your car or just listen to it when you're at home. And like I stated earlier, last year we did something called like off the top, where we were just talking about random news stories that just popped out of nowhere, like R. Kelly putting out an album in jail and just different random things. But I saw this, I wanted to ask you guys about it. I don't know if you've seen it. A bit of breaking news. If you guys don't remember, about 2 years ago, Alec Baldwin
Shot somebody
mistakenly on the set of Rust.
I heard something about that.
And
he got a body.
Yeah. And today he was actually charged for involuntary manslaughter. Today he was charged with that. Yeah. So apparently they charged him for that. Now keep in mind, during the whole process of all of this, they were still making the movie. Apparently the movie's supposed to come out sometime either I think later this year or probably next year.
How could you? Never mind. I don't think I feel comfortable completing the movie after I shot the director, but whatever.
Exactly. Like, well, yeah, he did shoot the director, but he also shot the cinematographer, who unfortunately passed away. And the cinematographer's family said that they wanted them to complete the film. But today he was charged with involuntary manslaughter. I want to ask you guys, do you think they should just continue making this movie, or like, you know, should they just scrap the whole project? Like, I mean, I don't think Alec Baldwin is a terrible person. I don't believe he meant to kill somebody or shoot somebody. But do you think the charge is justified? I mean, I know if it were my wife, I would want him under the jail, in my opinion. Not my ex-wife, but if I had a current wife, I would want him under.
He said
the
not
jail.
his ex-wife.
No, if you shot
said he
her,
would bail Alec Baldwin out in a second.
Exactly. If you shot her, I probably wouldn't feel as bad about it. But if I had a wife now, I would want him under the jail. But how would you guys feel about it?
Bro, Hollywood's a weird place, isn't it?
It is.
I'm trying to figure out what he actually got, like what his sentence is. I see that he got convicted.
Yeah, I saw that, but I couldn't find what his sentence was. It was reported on comicbook.com.
Yeah, and I'm on the New York Times, and it doesn't. And so that leads me to believe he'll probably get like a suspended sentence where he had to plead guilty and he gets convicted of the crime. But again, Hollywood's a weird place. He's a freaking Baldwin. He might not get in any trouble. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know that he should get in any trouble. Like, yes, is a terrible tragedy that happened on the set. If her family said they wanted him to continue on with it, then I believe that they should continue on with it. The only thing that bothered me about this whole situation is Alec Baldwin coming out afterwards, just completely denying culpability and being like, I didn't pull the trigger. There was no, it's like, bro, how else did this possibly happen? So he obviously lied about it, but I don't know what kind of trouble you deserve to get in. If you're on a movie set, you accidentally shoot somebody. Everybody is probably under some sort of contracts to where, you know, shit happens on sets. I don't know if y'all remember, there was a stunt driver that was driving for Zazie Beetz on Deadpool 2 and got killed. So like, it's an unfortunate risk of stunts and movie work and all that. So I do feel for him. I feel for her family much more. And this is something that he's got to wrestle with for the rest of his life. I mean, there's probably not going to be a day that goes by that he doesn't go to sleep, and the last thing that he thinks about beforehand is what he's responsible for. And I think that's, you know, that's karmic justice in the truest sense. So I don't know, man. I hate it for them, and I'm real curious to find out what he actually gets sentenced with.
Yeah. What about you, Ian? How do you feel about all of this?
Yeah, I'm with Jeremy. I don't know if he should actually get like thrown underneath the jail. It was obviously an accident.
Yeah.
I
would want him to be. I feel that.
Yeah, no, if it was a personal thing, I get what Alex is saying too.
Yeah.
I get it. If it was his current lady, but if his ex-wife, he'd probably be there with a gun. Oh, you missed the spot. Pow. Okay. But no, I agree with Jeremy as well. Like he seemed like, I don't know if he was lying, but he was definitely lying. But I feel like he was more delusional. The dude didn't seem like he was right in the head after all this happened. With understandable, like it's a tragic thing that happened to the lady and her family, and also to someone that didn't mean to shoot anybody. So I mean, it's an unfortunate event, and but I don't think he deserved any jail time. I know the Trumps are having a ball with this because of all the stuff he's done with him for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're getting their laughs about it, but whatever. I'm surprised we're not talking about that little white girl that could take a lot of police dicks. I was waiting for that one.
Wow. Yeah, that was.
That's what's been on my timeline. I didn't even know that the Alec Baldwin stuff was going on.
I saw that on my timeline too, but I didn't know if that was just, worthy of a conversation, but okay.
Oh boy.
But what do you guys think about Alec Baldwin unfortunately being convicted of involuntary manslaughter? Like I said, I don't believe he was on set with the intentions of hurting somebody, but things do happen on set. Like I said, my prayers go to the family who lost the wife. She was a mother as well, so the kids have to suffer through that as well. But what do you guys think about Alec Baldwin potentially, possibly getting sentenced and maybe going to jail? Jump to the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. And now we're going to get into our main topics. And one main topic that stood out to me that I really want to get my guys' opinion about is it's a topic coming from Mr. Jamal Hill. And Mr. Jamal writes, "Hey guys, so it was announced that Antoine Fuqua will direct the Michael Jackson biopic. We knew that one day that the studio would develop a movie at some point, but do you think that the general public will receive this film?" Well, thank you for your question, Jamal. Let me just say this. Regardless of where you stand with Michael Jackson, we can't deny that Michael Jackson was probably, like him and Prince, were probably the greatest artists in the world in terms of like people outside of the country knew Michael Jackson. They knew Prince. They knew their music. They knew the culture that they were creating with the music that they were putting out. So regardless of where you may fall of Michael Jackson as a human being, we can't deny that Michael Jackson's influence in terms of music will forever be felt. Like our kids will know, their kids will know. Michael Jackson was renowned, like was loved around the world. And again, so regardless of where you may fall and fall with him as a human being, he was one of the greatest musicians on this planet. That being said, they like Netflix did a Jeffrey Dahmer biopic, in a sense, and they went there with everything that he did. I feel as though with Antoine Fuqua, and I've never met Antoine Fuqua personally, but when you watch his films, he doesn't shy away from things that have happened, whether it's a biopic or an action film. Like he's a very gritty director in terms of making certain films. I mean, if you watch his Equalizer movies, those are gritty movies. They go there. There's rape, there's murder. I mean, he goes there. I think if you're going to say,
well, one of the best.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if I were to say, is he the right one to direct Michael's biopic? Yes. My question is what time frame are we taking this from? Are we taking it from when he was a kid and then he was raised with the Jacksons and the Jackson 5 and then becoming Michael? Or are we taking it from when he just went from when he left the Jacksons, he became solo? Just the elephant in the room, will they talk about his court cases and the people who were involved in his court cases? I mean, I think you can't really tell a biopic without at least mentioning what happened. Now, again, and I'm saying this because I know people watch my videos. I'm saying this as a fan. I want to watch it in its entirety. However, as a fan, I don't know if the world is going to receive the Michael Jackson movie when it comes out. I don't know that. So I can't really, only because that court case has been brought up so many times, and even after his death. I mean, Dave Chappelle even made a joke. He said Michael Jackson's been dead for over 10 years and he got 2 new cases. and you know, with the documentaries that have come out and all this other stuff about Michael Jackson, I can honestly say I don't know how much his legacy has been tarnished, but I will say if you put out a biopic, Antoine Fuqua is the right one to do it. But in my estimation as a fan and a filmmaker, if you're going to tell somebody's story, you tell the whole story. When they told Malcolm X's story, they told the whole story. Malcolm X, although he was a fighter for Black people, that motherfucker was a drug dealer, and they showed that. So what I'm saying is that if you're going to show a biopic about our great artists, show everything. Jeremy, who makes a lot of great music over at not the Pop Culture Miles, but what's it called?
Lucid Memory.
Lucid Memory. I know that Michael Jackson was potentially influenced on your life in terms of his artistry. What do you think about a biopic coming out, and do you think that Antoine Fuqua is the right person to do it? And also, how do you feel that the general public will receive it?
Yeah, this is a lot of question. First of all, Michael Jackson walked so that K-pop bands could run. Like, he is probably the single biggest influence on modern music, undisputed king of pop. I would say even to this day, he is the biggest and most influential artist of all time. Let Baz Luhrmann direct this movie. You know what I'm saying? He just now did that Elvis movie. Let Baz Luhrmann do this movie, because this Antoine Fuqua is too grounded and gritty of a filmmaker for what I believe is going to be a very sanitized version of Michael Jackson's life. It's based on a Broadway musical that's playing right now in New York and other major cities. And from what I heard, actually I heard it on Flagrant a couple days ago. According to Andrew Schultz, it doesn't even talk about any of the court cases, any of those allegations. And I will say that how do you tackle a biopic on Michael Jackson? Like to your point, Alex, there's so many different eras of Michael Jackson. And what's interesting about him is we know so much about the dude, but we also know so very little. Like we know the footnotes, we know things that happened over the decades, we know his indelible influence on music, we know he owned the Elephant Man skeleton, and he had a monkey named Bubbles, and he had not Graceland, but he had
Neverland.
Neverland. I mean,
Yeah.
this dude was both known and a public spectacle, but then also completely guarded, and his personal life is a total mystery to us. So how do we make a movie about a man and address what is essentially one of the most significant parts of his legacy, and that is whether or not he was sexually assaulting children? Like we don't know. We will never know. You can take the word of the dudes in the docks, or you can take the word of the man himself. And when I've done shameful things, I don't necessarily go out and tell the entire public about it. So like, of course, if you did do some shit like that, you would lie. And it's always like, well, he said, and then he said, but yeah, I don't know, man. This to me, it feels like trying to encapsulate too much. I mean, you could make a 3.5-hour movie and it still wouldn't be able to touch the story because we don't know the story. So I don't know. The silver lining is it's going to have Michael Jackson's music in it. And for that reason alone, it's going to be incredibly entertaining.
Right. And by the way, whoever they choose is Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I saw a few names floating around, like a Bruno Mars and a couple others. I pray before you decide to take that job, you know what you're walking into.
Yeah,
so.
man. Good call.
So Ian, what do you think about this news? And do you think that this movie would be received by the general public?
Speaking of casting, man, do you think they're gonna get the race right on Michael Jackson?
How could you?
You'll hear a lot of
Michael
Jackson. A lot of that
Jackson.
forced diversity shit when you cast him, I guess. This man is black. This man is white. Doesn't matter if he's black or white. That's what I was from.
Oh wow.
So there's been multiple Michael Jackson documentaries. I mean, not documentaries, but biopics. If people don't know this, but they're usually like straight to DVD or straight to movie documentaries. There are some that do address the allegations, and there are some that don't. I personally, when I was saying, I do think they should start with the Jackson 5. I do think they should start for him as a child, because a lot of the issues, whether you take away the sexual assault stuff or not, a lot of his issues in life, where it comes to his awkwardness or like just how he communicates with people and just how he is, it started from him as a child. Just being that's all he did was musical stuff. Didn't really much have a childhood. So I think you should start there, because it's a great place to end where he ended. And I'm on the camp of I don't think there's enough information to even give that guess of if he actually molested anybody or not. I'm not saying that he didn't, but it's not overwhelming evidence like R. Kelly. So I'm never going to say that I believe he did it or not. So I think it is worth addressing though. So, but I don't think we should definitely ignore it. And I think Antoine Fuqua is a great director. So I think this is a good move. Definitely going to be a long one, though. As you were saying, there's a lot to talk about Michael Jackson. He's a very mysterious person, but we've seen a lot of him at the same time. And he's one of those people the world kind of stopped when he died. It's rare. It's a rare occasion. But I'm looking forward to it. If they ever do like a concert with him as a hologram, I'm still going to be there. Like that was always a dream of mine, to go to a concert. Then he died. But whoever got this part, whether they're black or white, they got to know that moonwalk. That's all I care about, really.
Yeah. They got to know that moonwalk, and they have to know when to change colors too. So.
Yeah, exactly. There was this one biopic that they did where they did cast a full black guy, and they basically powdered him up.
Yeah,
it was ugly.
I mean,
worst thing I've ever seen.
The last thing I seen from Michael before he died, I know they put out like a Michael, because he was doing like the last concert before he died. But before then, I saw this movie called like The Jacksons, The American Dream.
Yeah.
Where they depict him as a kid raising with his brothers, and then Michael being Michael, and then going back to the Jacksons. And it's a really good story. It's like in 2 parts. So I would encourage anyone to check that out. But me personally, like my co-host stated, I think when you're going into this movie, there's so much to talk about, and his personal life was a mystery, so we don't
Yeah.
know what happened. But I think it would be an interesting story to see on theaters. But what do you guys think? Do you
I think
guys
the first half should
Mhm.
be like Michael B. Jordan if he lost weight, and the second half should be Scarlett Johansson.
Wow,
That's a good call. Yeah. Or you get Bruno Mars fresh from the islands, and then you lock him in a cellar for 6 months. You got the before where he's tan, and then you deprive him of sunlight for like a good year, and then he could do both sides, I think.
Oh wow! Like if Michael B. Jordan or Bruno Mars is watching this, please do not take this seriously. Like I don't, because I hope to have one of you guys, if not both of you guys, on the show at some point in my life. But yeah, what do you guys think about this news? Do you think this movie should be made, or do you think it will be received well by the general public? Jump into the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. And I have another topic coming from Mr. Michael Smith. Mr. Michael writes, "Hey guys, with phase 5 and 6 slate being announced, when do you think we'll get another Spider-Man movie in the MCU? Do you think Tom Holland's coming back, or is Spider-Man never coming back in the MCU?" Well, thank you for your question, Michael. Fun fact, we're getting a Spider-Man movie this year. So I mean, I
Yes.
can't wait
I
for
can't
Across
wait
the
either.
Spider-Verse. So I mean, that's not in the MCU, but still, like, I'm still excited for that movie. But
That I might be more excited for that than any MCU project.
exactly, because of
Yeah.
how good the first one was. I'm like, oh
Mhm.
god, like the animation and the story was crazy. But to answer your question, he's right. With phase 5, that was announced, there was whoa, wait, what was that? Oh, there was no announcement of a Spider-Man film. Truthfully, I don't know if we're going to see another Spider-Man film. What the saving grace is, what I do know is Tom Holland has one more team up film on his contract, which is we'll probably see him in Kang Dynasty or maybe Secret Wars. So if we don't see him in his own film, I do know one of those films we'll probably see him in. Now, that remains to be seen. But I will say this. I think Kevin Feige, with the changes at Disney, they're negotiating with Sony about what the outlook of Spider-Man's going to look like. And Amy Pascal did come out, I think about maybe a week after Spider-Man No Way Home came out, and said that 4, 5, and 6, Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6 have been greenlit. It's just not in the MCU. And I don't know what that means. Like, so we're gonna continue Spider-Man just in the Sony verse and not in the MCU, or is he in the MCU and they just don't know who he is? So the way it ended, people don't know Peter Parker, but they know who Spider-Man is. So I would like to think, since that's a $1 billion property, we're going to see a Spider-Man 4. To answer the second part of the question, is Tom Holland coming back after Uncharted? That motherfucker is coming back. I'm sorry. I mean, he's doing other projects. Don't get it twisted. But none of those projects has made him as much as Spider-Man. I do think, though, he'll probably do 3 more movies, and then they'll transition the Spider-Man character to another Spider-Man. Hopefully, either Miles Morales or another iteration of Spider-Man. Ian, you heard? Do you think that we'll get a Spider-Man project in phase 5 or 6, or do you think that we'll probably won't see a solo movie, but we'll see him in like maybe Avengers, Kang Dynasty, or maybe Secret Wars?
Definitely. I don't know what the rules are when it comes to announcing Spider-Man movies, just because they're owned by Sony. So like maybe Disney can't they can't legally announce a Spider-Man project this year or next year. I don't think it's coming this year. If there is, possibly next year or the year before, but I do think there will be a Spider-Man movie in this phase. And I honestly think for 100% he's going to be in Secret Wars. I think him and all the other Spider-Men are going to be there, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I think there's going to be that's not web all over the wall. because people are going to be very excited for that.
Wow.
So yeah, I do think it's gonna happen. I think it's just a matter of Sony actually being the ones that have to announce that. Poor Tom Holland, by the way. You're just talking about his
Uncharted.
movies. I've only liked Spider-Man, and I've actually liked this movie on Netflix called The Devil All the Time.
I like that movie too.
I
Yeah.
think it's a really good movie. Other than that, he's not really in great movies. It's kind of like the Michael Fassbender effect. These two are great actors, but man, they're not in the best movies.
Good point.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I will say this I liked Devil All the Time. I think there's some things about Uncharted I liked as well. And he did this movie on Apple TV called Cherry, which is a good movie, but it wasn't well received. Like Ian said, the other movies that he's done have not been necessarily well received. So yeah, I think he'll do more Spider-Man movies. But Jeremy, what do you think about this news? And do you think we'll get another Spider-Man movie probably in the next phase or not? Or do you think we'll see him in the next Avengers movies?
I think it was 2004 when Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man came out. Since then, we have a total of 10 Spider-Man movies when you count into Spider-Verse. You know what I mean? That is just too many Spider-Mans. And then that's not counting them in Civil War and all the other Marvel movies. It took 10 movies to get to, like, I like the first two Sam Raimi movies pretty good. And then I kind of like the MCU Spider-Man movies, but like not a lot. And when the last one, I like the last one. When that one ended, it was like, all right, we finally got Peter Parker. The slate has been wiped clean of all of the connections to the Avengers and the superheroes. He's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he's going to swing through his neighborhood and he's going to fight crime. And I'm like, finally. But at this point, and Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel character. At this point, I'm like, we've had a lot of Spider-Man. I am excited for Into the Spider-Verse because they get weird with it. Yeah. I liked Multiverse, Far From Home. I thought that was cool. But even that, now that the multiverse has been opened up, it feels like No Way Home would not have existed in the way it did if it wasn't for Into the Spider-Verse. Like, that really informed that movie. So now that we've done multiverse Spider-Man, we did the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, we did Cool Guy Spider-Man with Mark Webb. It feels like what else can you really do with this character? How can you show me something new with Spider-Man? So whether we get another one or not, I'm going to see it. I'm going to enjoy it. They tend to always make gangbusters at the box office, no matter how many of them get put out. And I'm sure I'll like it pretty good because I've never sat in the movie theater and hated a Spider-Man movie. Even Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, I thought was all right. But I just don't know what else you can possibly do with this character. To be fair, comic book series, and I know it's a different medium, but they're not one issue long. They're not 15 issues long. They run for freaking decades, and Spider-Man's still a huge selling comic book character. So like, you can kind of do the same story over and over and over again. And if there's one thing that audiences have taught Marvel Studios, is that we're game. Just keep doing the same movie over and over again. We'll keep showing up for it.
Yeah, he's not lying.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Like, we'll keep showing up for it. And I mean, I'm interested. Like, to Jeremy's point, Spider-Man's one of my favorite MCU characters, right next to Black Panther, because of how relatable as a character he is, more so as Peter Parker than becoming the Spider-Man. But and I've enjoyed the Tom Holland films, but like, I'm more so interested of, like he said, where do you go? Like, are you going to age him up and make him the Peter Parker struggling to pay his rent while trying to save New York, being homeless? Like, like, what do you do? And now, like, MJ doesn't know who he is. His friends don't know who he is. So what do you do at this point? So how do you fix that? How do you correct it? So, but I'm interested to see it. I do think we'll get a Spider-Man film, probably maybe the earliest phase 6, maybe 2025, but who knows? But what do you guys think? What do you think that when do you think we'll get another Spider-Man film? And do you think he'll probably be in Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars? Jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, now we're gonna get into our final question of today, and our final question comes from Miss Leah Blankenship.
Blankenship. Is that Korean?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know what these people look like when they see emails. I mean, Leah, if you're watching this, I didn't mean that by any. Never mind. Let's just jump into the question. So,
Just tell us where you're from, Blankenship. I didn't mean nothing by it either.
I didn't mean nothing by it either. Hey guys, so The Last of Us is an amazing show. It was well adapted from the source material. Do you think that in this era, where video game movies and shows, will they rival comic book movies and other forms of storytelling? Thank you for taking my question, and also keep up the good work. Well, thank you for your question, Leah. So I asked the guys really briefly off camera, have they seen The Last of Us? I saw it for the first time yesterday. Now it's funny, I've downloaded the game, but I've never played it. I downloaded it like last year, but I've never played it. When it comes to zombie games, to me, I felt like they were all the same, but I've heard nothing but good things about the game. But when I watched the show, that first 5 minutes, it captures you. And we were talking about the first 30 minutes of the movie of the show. Not only how cinematic and beautiful it looks, that dialogue between like that, I forget the character's name, but the man and his daughter, like just seeing them interact with one another, I was just enthralled of what was going to happen. Like it kept me engaged. If you look back in the past of video game movies that have come out and TV shows that have come out, not a lot of them have been successful, and not a lot of them have been all that great. But I will say this: when you look at The Last of Us, and again, it's based off the first game, from what I understand, what they've done in the first episode, they set up a really good story that I can't wait to see play out in the next few episodes of the series. I think this is a 10 to 12 episode series.
Oh, cool.
So when you look at like something like Sonic, I love Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, but when you take the Sonic games, you can't really develop those as movies because it's an experience. But what they did was they took the character of Sonic and they took the essence of Sonic and made a great story for Sonic. So to answer your question, do I think video game movies would rival comic book movies and other genres in the movie industry? Me personally, I think it's really too early to say, only because there's only a handful of good examples. And like I said, right now in 2023, that's The Last of Us episode 1, which is too early to tell if this is going to be a great series. If it's anything like the game and the game is well loved, then I think it could potentially be a great series. But when you look at other movies that have come out, like Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, which I love, those are great movies. I can't think of any other video game movies. I mean, would you consider Ready Player One a video game movie, even though it's based off a book?
No.
Not really.
Nah.
And that's a movie that most people hate.
I didn't like it.
And there's also, that's a movie that I love, but me personally, when you say video game movies, I think my mind immediately goes to Warcraft, garbage movie, Assassin's Creed, so bad. Like, I mean, there was so much potential in some of these rich video games that I have played that where it could be a great story. There's only one video game in the world, in my opinion, or one character that's translated through all spectrums, which was Spider-Man. The main Spider-Man game that's out for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 is amazing. His movies are amazing. His animation is amazing. That's like the only comic book character, in my opinion, that fits every form. When you talk about like, can it rival comic books and other genres of movies? I think it's too early to tell because we only have small food examples of good stuff. So Jeremy, do you think you saw The Last of Us? What did you think about the show? But also, since you did not play the game, do you think that games like that have rich stories could potentially rival comic book movies and other genres of movies? And do you think we could see a rivalry where we see video game movies and shows on the rise versus comic book movies that are, we can say with the MCU is kind of declining at this point? What do you think?
I don't think I answered the question straight last time or the time before that. I keep going off on my tangents and then forgetting. So if I don't answer the question right off the bat, I'm gonna inevitably forget.
Stop doing drugs.
No. Hey, look at you, dude. Starting the new year off like Scarface. Every time the camera goes out, I hear loud sniffing sounds.
I don't like cocaine. I just like how it smells.
Yeah. All right. No. So couple things. Comic book movies, they might be declining in quality, but they're not declining in popularity.
That's true.
Do I think that they're going to rival maybe in the future? For sure. But what I want to focus on is that, and I'm not like an elite gamer, not by a long shot, but I think video games movie better than movies do. And Ian, I'm curious about I'm curious about your take on this, but when it comes to video games, you've got these elaborate cutscenes, you've got 18 hours worth of gameplay where you're actually avataring the freaking character in it. There's nothing that could be in the best game, because people are weird. Like, we want adaptations to follow the exact same thing we know, yet there's no surprise in that. So like, people that have already played The Last of Us already all the way through, I've talked to them where they're like, if it sticks close to the game, it's going to be good. And it's like, but then there's no surprises in it for you. What I've heard about The Last of Us is that midpoint scene is the shocker revelation of the game. That's what kicks it off, and that's what lets you know, like, oh, this is serious. Zack Snyder directed Dawn of the Dead back in 2004. It's one of his better movies. There's a really great scene at the beginning where Sarah Pauli's character gets into her vehicle and starts driving away, and you see all the chaos and carnage around her. The Last of Us does that, but like exponentially better. It's so wild. There's a scene where this freaking B-52 bomber, or like a big cargo plane, comes down and freaking crashes and explodes in the streets, and there's just a lot of like chaotic stuff going on that unfolds really well. It's super well directed. The people that directed Chernobyl are the ones behind it, and Chernobyl is a fantastic series. But not only do video games movie better than movies, I think TV series movie better than movies do now. And that's what I wanted to ask you about, Ian, is it's like, we're in this space now where you can do cinematic television that give your characters time to breathe and time to evolve and time to grow in a way that you will never see in a movie. So in a couple of ways, I feel like video games and television series are kind of filling the niche of storytelling in a way that movies aren't able to. So you can never get Avatar at home, but short of that, almost everything else seems better at home these days.
Yeah. And to that point, I will say this real quick before I pass it to Ian. Like, this is why I made the comment about Uncharted. That movie versus the game. I mean, the games, and I've played all of them, are amazing. The cutscenes, the dialogue, and what you can do within that 18-20 hour period is fucking amazing. That's why I said Nathan Drake as a video game character is so much better than what we got. No diss to Tom Holland, but Nathan Drake is that guy when it comes to treasure hunting. So, and by the way, the Uncharted games is the same. It's the same studio that created The Last of Us. That's why that great storytelling is so good. But Ian, what do you think about Jeremy's comments? And do you think that video games can rival movies in other genres of comic book movies and other genres of movies?
Yeah, I think Jeremy brought up a great discussion. I can't wait to answer that. But I do want to first talk about my experience with this show. As you said, I'm not a video game player. I like I like Super Smash Brothers, and I like say Halo and GoldenEye. Sorry.
Yeah.
So to Jeremy's point, a lot of these games, they're hard to make into series or movies because it's kind of a choose your own adventure all the time. And when you choose your own adventure, you're going to have a different experience than another person. My adventure is going to be average compared to the virgin that's never leaving his desk. So he's going to be a little bit more picky than I am. But I understand what you were saying, Alex. It's hard to give an adaptation of these video game series, and some of them I've always wanted to see. I think Sonic is kind of the line at the moment. It's the bar, and it's a great TV show. It's a great kids movie, and I'll give it that. I think they did a good job after they corrected their problems with the look. But
Definitely.
Can I see the future being more good adaptations? Yeah. I think from episode 1, and I can never judge a full show after episode 1, because I've watched an episode 1. I was like, this show is amazing. And then the finale, you just want to throw your TV out. But right now, episode 1 was fantastic. 10 out of 10. I loved it.
Yep.
And so if they keep that going, yeah, as the MCU, or not even just the MCU, not picking on them in general, but just superhero movies in general, started to decline, we might move past it. We moved past spy movies, we've moved past westerns. One day we will move past superhero movies. It is what it is. You guys might not want to hear that, but it is what it is. It might be video game movies next. Who knows? I do think if that was to happen, this is a good start right here. So who knows? And I'm all for it. Not even someone that doesn't play video games. I just want to see something new. To Jeremy's point though, and the question was something like, you think movies, TV shows do movies better than movies, and video games do movies better than movies? I kind of agree with him to an extent, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to choose one of the three, I'm still going to go with movies. But I understand what he's saying, because I understand what he's saying just because of the time period. I love my movies from like the 90s, the 80s, some of the more original stuff now. But like we have something called like sequel fetishes and reboot fetishes and remake fetishes. It's to the point that we love the culture of binge watching. We love the culture of seeing something new. And if you're just going to remake things and reboot things and sequel things, then yeah, I think we're going to be a little bit more attracted to a long story of a video game, or a long story of a Netflix adaptation of Wednesday, sorry. Something that drags out a little bit more for the same story, instead of like redoing it. So I think I don't know if that's what you were kind of saying, but that's what I got out of what you were saying. Like, yeah, I could see what you mean by that. They're doing it a little bit better, instead of just like hitting the reset button every time you go to the movies for something. It's the same shit.
Yeah, I think for me, in a 2-hour movie, even a 3-hour movie, you've got a protagonist that's able to have a strong arc, and then maybe you have a secondary character that's also able to have a sub arc, a secondary thing. Sometimes villains come to the light by the end of the movie, and heroes they go from being pompous or inexperienced to having that moment of awakening at the end. And a lot of times you'll see those two narrative arcs happen at the same time. In a television series, you can have 6 different characters that are all experiencing arcs at different times. And a character may have a rise and a fall and then a rise again. Like a character like Walter White, if you condense that down to a movie, it really loses a lot of the nuance and the subtlety that makes him such an interesting character. Same with like Better Call Saul, Game of Thrones. I mean, there are so many examples now. So that you make a great point, and I actually echo a lot of what you said as well, but I was kind of just approaching it from the idea of like what storytelling can be expanded on so much when you've got 8-12 hours a season to do it.
And I wanted to add to what Jeremy just said about TV shows and video games being better than movies to a certain extent. With like Ian, I would agree. I would pick movies, but just take something from Disney Plus, like all of their Star Wars stuff in terms of like the Mandalorian season 1 and 2 and Andor. If I'm being honest, that's the most entertaining Star Wars things that I've seen from most of their movies that have come out. I'm not saying it's all the way better. I'm just saying that, especially Andor, and even Obi-Wan to an extent, I'm like, I would rather watch Star Wars stretched out on TV than I would in movies. Same thing.
I think
with
when you
certain-
have, I'm sorry, I
go
think
ahead.
when you have something like MCU or Star Wars or even DC, when you have huge universes, I think you do need to stretch it out a little bit better than just a 2-hour movie.
Exactly. Now,
But even the MCU is kind of doing TV series on the big screen. So that's kind of a hybrid of the two of those things. So there's an interesting melding of mediums going on, you know?
Yeah, and definitely, like, and I agree, because like with both camps, they're both kind of doing the same thing. But I would say, like, even with the MCU, what they're struggling with their TV series, they have a great start, but by the time it ends, it's like, what the fuck was I watching?
Yeah.
You know. But when I look at the only thing that I think, and I'm not talking about the animated
Ralph
stuff for
Boner.
Star Wars, but if you look at just the Mandalorian and Andor, they've done a really good job stretching out the history of Star Wars that kept me engaged. Boba Fett, not so much. But when I look at, and also when I look at video games, I was talking about the Spider-Man game earlier. If you take that game, that is a depiction of who Peter Parker is. And I love that game more than I love some of the things that have come out from a cinematic wise from Spider-Man. Not to say that those movies and TV shows don't mean anything. I'm just saying that there's certain
Hey, I'll say
games.
something controversial. I think I'd rather see Spider-Man as a TV show. And I love the Spider-Man movies, but I think that stretched out would probably be better out of all the MCU characters.
It would be
Spider-Man cartoon was good.
I mean, it would be
Hands
interesting.
down.
I mean, like if they adapt a live action Spider-Man TV show, like the Spectacular Spider-Man animated show, I'd watch that definitely.
Oh yeah.
Because if anyone who's seen the Spectacular Spider-Man, that one season is really good.
Absolutely.
But yeah, but to your points, I agree. Like, yes, which I agree with Ian. Everything will come to an end to an extent with comic book movies. What I mean by that, I'm not saying that they will stop making them, but there is going to be a genre to rival it. And I think, and like I said, it's too early to tell now, but so far we got Sonic and The Last of Us and maybe another movie here or there too. If things start to become good within these prominent properties, I think we could see somewhat of a rivalry in the near future, probably within the next 5 or 10 years, if MCU doesn't fuck up their movies. But but what do you guys think? This was an interesting discussion, but what do you guys think? Do you think that the video games, movies, and TV shows would rival comic book movies or even other genres of movies? Jump into the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. And that would do it for today at the Ask Alex Show. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel where you get all the updates of every time I'm releasing a video here on my YouTube channel. Jeremy, where can we find you on YouTube and social media?
Check out Lucid Memory. Head over there, do a little digging around, check out some music that you enjoy, and stay tuned for more of that to come as well. And you can check out Jeremy G Branch on Twitter. And yeah, that's about it.
Good luck making music.
Thanks. Yeah, man. Yeah.
And Ian, where can we find you? By the way, I'm just now seeing this post that Ian shared on Facebook about Carol's Baskin's husband. I was like, what the fuck is this? Oh, but Ian, where can we find you on social media?
Oh man, you can find me at youtube.com/Ian Elliott Carter. Haven't done a lot this year. Haven't done anything this year, but I am working on one project at the moment. And I'm also, when it comes to videos, and I'm also working on my comic book, and it's getting animated. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome. I can't wait for that. Definitely check out their channels and definitely check out their content that's coming out in the near future and even currently as well. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I pray that you guys have a blessed day. Stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, have a blessed day.